We're live. Start with commercials as usual.
Okay.
It's the PPC Radio Show, hosted by Cynda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio. Grown Folks Radio. WGFB-FM Radio.
So are you ready?
Yeah. How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
For the health and safety of our guests and team members, we're here for you. That means frequently deep cleaning our stores and wiping down carts and baskets after each use, reserving dedicated shopping hours for our most vulnerable guests, providing masks and gloves to our team members, and offering contactless shopping options through the Target app, like Drive Up and Same Day Delivery. We are here for you now more than ever, and your health and safety is our highest priority. Learn more at target.com/a-bullseye-view.
New Dunkin' Refreshers. Vibrant fruit flavors like strawberry, dragon fruit, and peach passion fruit. B vitamins and energy from green tea. All under 200 calories. Order ahead via the Dunkin' app for a contactless way to order, pay, and pick up in the drive-thru. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
Amazon is hiring near you. Earn a competitive wage and start as soon as 7 days. No resume or experience required. Health and safety are a top priority with all of Amazon's roles and sites. Amazon is taking precautions in their buildings to keep people healthy. Go to amazon.com/apply. That's amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
Hey everybody, it is ShellyShell Williams, host of Single on a Saturday Night. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Single on a Saturday Night TV. That's at Single on a Saturday Night TV. Follow us on Instagram and we'll follow back. Hey everybody, it's ShellyShell Williams, Philly's Oprah, executive producer of Urban X-pressions, Single on a Saturday Night, but I am a business, social media, and media coach. And if you're looking to show up on social media with a purpose, I have a course for you. Have you been struggling as an entrepreneur trying to figure out how to get people to engage, how to get people to buy, how to get people just to see you on social media? I have just the course for you. Please go to ShellyShellWilliams.com to find out more.
WGFB-FM Radio.
So are you ready?
Yeah. How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
Yo, what's good? This is Tracy Lee, and you already know I gets down with the get down, man. Grown Folks Radio all day.
Hi, everybody. This is Cynda Williams, and I am the co-host of the Melanated Morning Show and the host of the PPC Radio Show. And you are listening to Grown Folks Radio. Radio.
PPC, 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 yeah. PPC, PPC, CPC, yeah. Join me so we can grow together. Conversation, get that healing. Let them know what they're missing. Share with your best friend. Tell them come hear this, yeah. Don't you dare miss your blessings. Powerful lessons, true confessions, yeah. PPC, yeah. A powerful tool for you and me. PPC, yeah. A powerful tool for you and me. PPC,
Welcome to the PPC Radio Show. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, nobody hear you.
Right.
I can hear you.
I'm using several devices today, so I'm a little confused. Excuse me. Welcome to the PPC Radio Show. As you can tell, I have a lot of energy because I've just been getting some rest lately. Yay! Welcome, ShellyShell Williams and Craig Engel. What's up, y'all?
Hello.
You look so summery. I like
I'm
that.
in honor of the first really warm week of the year. I'm doing the whole summer beachy kind of thingy.
Oh, very nice. And I bet it's beautiful out by the lake, right?
Oh my gosh, I was just working in the garden. I looked at my watch and I was like, oh, I think I need to go talk with Cynda and ShellyShell.
You got caught up.
Oh my.
I did.
Well, I'm glad you remembered us because we always remember you. So this week's theme, this last week's theme, it was eliminate the noise. And I think we can, I think I shared with you what I was thinking about you talking about, because there's so many things you could, but the eliminate the noise is interesting because sometimes you got to stop listening to everybody. There's so many people making suggestions about what you should do with your money, how you should do it, all this kind of stuff. What do you say about that?
Well, you know, I think that for those of us who are freelancers and giggers and 1099 workers and all that kind of stuff, we do deal with a lot more noise, or maybe a different kind of noise than most people do who have regular jobs, because there's different things that we all need to pay attention to when we're earning our money that way, right? So I was doing it when you wrote me and you told me that you wanted me to speak specifically to, you know, gig workers and you know, 1099 employees and things like that. There's a lot of things that we need to pay attention to that perhaps if you have a job, you don't have to pay attention to. And one of the things that I found really, really interesting is gig workers, we always have to be cognizant of how we get paid, right? How many times as gig workers have we done a job and we wait months and months and months and months before we get a check, before we get paid, you know, and we'll call and we'll talk about, hey, you know, where's my money? And you'll always get, what do you always get when you call clients? Come on, tell me. You know.
Not my money.
It's being processed, or
yeah, it's being processed. It'll be there next week, whatever it is, yada, yada, yada. And what is often the case. They tell you, oh, it'll be soon, it'll be next week, it'll be this, it'll be that. And then what happens to it? You still don't see it. It takes months and months. So one of the things that I think is really important for gig workers to understand, especially if you're doing work for a significant amount of money, or you're doing work for a company that's not in your state, you have to be comfortable with presenting your clients a contract. And a lot of times as gig workers, go ahead.
No, I just want to start writing notes because I'm dealing with this right now. Go on.
So you want to get comfortable with presenting your clients with a contract. And a lot of times as gig workers, you know, we're leery of being too demanding because, you know, we think that we're replaceable. We think that if we place too many constraints on the professional relationship, that they'll just throw their hands in the air and go somewhere else. But the truth of the fact is if you're a gig worker and you have a product, which is yourself and your skills and your talents, that you should respect them, and so should your employer, you know, even if it's a freelance employer. So getting a contract is very, very important. Getting a signature on the contract is important. Thank you, DJ. And making sure that they understand the constraints and the parameters of you working for them. So one of the things I've always done when I did out-of-state work, where I had an out-of-state employer, and I was doing it elsewhere, is that I always made sure that I got a deposit up front. So always 50% up front, and it's not refundable. You know, if the client decides, oh, you know, there's an issue with this or that, or if the weather comes up, if you're doing an outside gig, whatever it is, that 50%, that's to hold you so you don't take any other jobs. That's literally what it is. So for that 50% that they pay you, they own you for that time frame that day. But things that are out of your control, you still may have turned down a job that you could have done elsewhere, indoors, whatever, that allowed you to get paid. So you have to be comfortable with the fact that, yeah, your time is valuable, your skills are valuable, and that your freelance employer should respect them as much as you do. Then when you complete the job, put in your contract that it's payable either day of, upon conclusion of, or within X amount of days. The problem with doing out-of-state work with, or having an out-of-state employer is oftentimes, let's say for instance, you're in Indiana, but you have an employer in Florida. Many times, in order to get paid, if somebody decides they want to stiff you, you're gonna have to find an attorney to represent you in Florida. So when you're doing work for a company or for an entity that isn't the same state as you're in, you've got to really use your gut to figure out if the person or company that you're working for is reputable and that they will follow through on what's required for you to do the work for them. So that's the first thing. Make sure that you're comfortable with contracts. Don't worry about if somebody's going to get really irritated with you for presenting them with a contract, they're probably not worth working for anyway. That's my opinion. So what do you ladies think about that?
I agree with it. You know what? Sometimes when I think that people are going to be eerie about the word contract, I use agreement. So a lot of times, which is really the same thing, but for those who get scary about the word contract, I say agreement, and this agreement is by in between such and such and such and such. So I found that doing that in that way with that word helps a lot.
Right.
Helps them not to be like contract, but you know that it's worked a lot. I mean, I use them a lot.
And you should.
I had to chime in.
I have had.
Okay, DJ, go.
I don't know. Everybody's talking at the same time.
Yeah, right. Who's going?
No, go ahead, Cynda.
I have been in this business for a long time, and for most of that time, I was, regular. What's it called?
1099.
No, the other.
W2.
Okay. For years, that's the studios, independents, everybody.
Yeah.
But now it's changed. Yep. Now everybody is 1099, which in one way is good because that means I can use my deductions. But in another way, I got to deal with all the issues that you're talking about now. And now all of a sudden, on a lot of projects that I get, they are directly to me. They are not through my agent. Because people, if they know they can get you will go to you instead of your agent, because your agent might say no right off the bat. Right.
But that's their job, though, right? Their job.
That is their job.
Right.
But that's why people call me. So it's like I'm having to say no. We were talking about this earlier. I'm having to say no when that's not my job. You know what I mean? I'm an artist. I don't want to make enemies, but I'm having to learn how to do this stuff. We have to do in a group. When it's acting, it's one thing, because I could always call my agent and I could say, hey, can you handle this for me? Because blah, blah, blah. But singing, writing, I don't have agents for those things, So I'm put in a position where I have to deal with them on a contract, contracts. And it's hard for me because I've always had managers and agents doing all of that for me.
Right. So one thing we want to be careful with is there is a legal difference between agreement and contract. So we want to be careful about that too. I just ran into this with a situation, and I come to find out that somebody that I know that's been doing business with a big corporation was under the assumption that he had signed a contract that would benefit him, when in fact it was just an agreement that allowed the corporation to change the rules on him. And so we all have to be really, really careful about stuff. If somebody's presenting you with an agreement, that is different. And in order to do things properly, especially as you become more successful, as you start getting more jobs, you have more stuff coming in, it may be a good idea to have somebody in your corner that you trust that can read over these things. Because this guy thought he had a contract, and this contract would enable him to buy future pieces of business. And then he come to find out that no, it's just an agreement, and that the company that he was working with could change the parameters of that agreement at any time at their discretion, and it was to his distinct disadvantage. So let's just be careful with all of that. But yeah, Cynda, you as a freelance worker, you have to be a little bit more business savvy when it comes to the contract type of thing to protect your own interests. I mean, ultimately, nobody cares about us except for the people in our tight circles. Big corporations and things like that, it's their job to figure out ways to pay you less. That's what they do. I mean, we had a president in the last administration who 400 lawsuits that he had under his belt for non-payment of vendors. I mean, tens of millions of dollars just on the backs of people just like us. And that's just one example. And there's a lot of people out there like that want to take advantage of good-natured people like us who are artists. Artists by our very nature are good-hearted people, and we want to help people, and we want to do the right things. But before we do the right things for anybody, we still have to do the right things for ourselves and our family. So, DJ, what do you got?
I'm the typical gig worker as a DJ, as a sound provider. Before there was Grown Folks Radio, there was Grown Folks Biz Entertainment. And everything that you were saying is exactly how I did. I have a standard contract. If you're going to hire me to run sound, you're going to hire me to DJ your event, whatever, there's a deposit, non-refundable. If it rains, ain't my problem.
Right.
Cynda, if you remember, we were talking about that earlier this morning. Whether your event is successful or not successful, that ain't my problem. Mm-hmm. This is what you give me. And not only that, the second half does not get paid at the end of the night, depending on how the door does. No. That's not how that works. When I pull up with the truck, nothing comes off the truck until I get the second half of my money.
Excellent.
Now,
that was like Aretha Franklin, right?
Huh?
Aretha Franklin, she went a step further. She wanted cash. She wouldn't do anything unless you paid her all her.
Well, and see, that's another deal nowadays, because I don't take checks. I don't take personal checks. I don't know you.
Oh, no, what nobody doing that?
Exactly.
We ain't doing that.
Cash at me.
Exactly. That's the newest thing now. But I did want to chime in, because I'm your typical gig worker. I am your typical gig worker, because that's all I'm doing is live gigs here and there. I haven't done any, but for the last year. But I mean, prior to that, that's how I survived in this DJ game. And yes, you have to get a deposit, because there are so many times where I've gotten a call where we decided not to get married, or we decided not to do can I have my deposit back? No, that ain't my problem. You changed the deal. Mm-hmm. Well, we decided that we're not going to do it on this particular day because Uncle Remus or Aunt Jamaica or whoever couldn't make it. That ain't my problem.
Well, there's actually another way that's even better than getting cash, and that's having your money deposited into your PayPal or your Venmo account.
Well, so prior to Cash App, that's what I was doing. I had PayPal.
Yeah, all of them.
That is actually the most secure way of doing things. So you see it right there. Both parties see it. You're not subject to having counterfeit money. You're not subject to getting, well, I only have $200. Well, the contract's $250. All that kind of stuff. The money's there. It's secure. You see it. They see it. Done deal. So that's another easy way to do it. So Cynda, you brought up something that I also want to talk about. Aretha Franklin. She would demand cash before she would start her gig. Aretha Franklin, she just died, last year? Mm-hmm. Was it last year she passed?
No, that was like 2018.
2 years ago. Mm-hmm.
Was it 2 years ago? Aretha Franklin died without an estate plan or a will.
Mm.
So did Prince. I don't know if you guys have been hearing.
I know that about Prince, yeah.
Aretha Franklin, too.
So the Red Fox.
And Red Fox, yeah. So many people.
I brought up Red Fox because he did the same Aretha. I know where you're going with this. They had a problem with the government.
So the problem with this is it's really egregious, frankly. When people have a lot of money, like those people did, and they pass on without a will or an estate plan, every member of that family is scrambling for their piece of the pie, right? And in Prince's case, I believe his estate's worth $300 million plus, maybe more, based on what's in his vaults and things like that. All of his family and relatives are scrambling to get their share of what that inheritance would be. And
since still fighting for that money?
Oh, they're going to be fighting for it forever. You know who Marilyn Monroe is?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when she died?
In the 50s. I mean, the 60s. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like 1962. Do you know her estate still is not settled?
What?
Yep.
Wow.
So here, this is a real problem. Now, this is for everybody. This isn't just for gig workers. This is for everybody. If you have a will, it's not enough for you to avoid going to probate court, for your estate to wind up in probate. Now, I know DJ knows about this. I don't know if anybody else does. For the most part, we do not want our estate to go into probate.
We said probate for a year.
For a year, that was short.
I know, and so I'm understanding that's short. Yeah.
Yeah, some probates last many years. So, does anybody know why you want to avoid probate court aside from DJ, because he's experienced this?
No idea.
Anybody? No idea. Okay, so Cynda, let's say when you pass away, you're worth $10 million. From my lips to God's ears, you're worth $10 million, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. ShellyShell too, and DJ. Okay. If you do not have a will, guess who makes the decisions about how to handle all of the money that you worked so hard for during your life?
The government.
DJ, the government does, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you all feel about the government making decisions on what to do with your money?
I don't like it.
You don't like it? ShellyShell doesn't like it. What do you think, Cynda?
Nope, not a good idea.
Don't like it at all. Okay, so how do you avoid that? Well, a lot of people think, well, if I have a will, that will do it. No, it doesn't. The will delineate where you want things to go, but it still goes into probate court. Your estate will still go into probate. A will is not enough. So what does probate court do? Well, the probate court's main function is to take your estate, hold it in escrow, and that way all of the creditors of your estate can make themselves known, right, DJ? And then the probate court will then take the assets that are contained within the estate to make all of those creditors whole. Whatever is left over, here we go. Throwing down bombs. Whatever is left over, the probate court will leave in the estate, at which point the estate will handle disbursement of all of those assets. No telling what's going to be left. However, within your estate, there are ways for your estate attorney to look at ways that you can save on taxes. So for instance, let's say, for instance, you decide that you don't want to go into probate. You hate the idea of going into probate, but you also hate the idea of paying a good estate attorney what their fee would be to set up an estate plan with a trust. Usually an estate attorney is going to run you somewhere between $2,500 and $3,000. So let's say you know somebody who's like, I do not want my estate to go into probate. That would be bad. I don't want it. However, I absolutely do not want to pay a lawyer $3,000 to set up my estate plan. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to make my child an owner of my house. That way I can avoid probate. Anything that you've got a named beneficiary, somebody that owns whatever you've got, whether it's a 401k plan, an IRA, maybe they can sign on your checking account. Maybe they are a partial owner of your house, whatever it is. So this person thinks, okay, I'm going to save $3,000 by naming my child an owner on my house. And then she passes away. Well, guess what? because that child is an owner of that house, that child does not get the benefit of the inheritance tax, which is in the millions of dollars, right? I think it's $5 million for a single person and $10 million for a couple. The Biden administration is talking about reducing that to like 2.2 million or something like that. However, here's the point. If that child owns that house or is a part owner of that house and the parent passes away, they do not benefit from the estate tax limitations of $5 million. Now, since they're owners, when that parent passes on, they're subject to capital gains taxes. And capital gains taxes can be up to 20%. So if you've got a house that's worth $500,000 and that kid now owns it, that kid is on the hook for $100,000 in taxes.
And one last thing, be very careful of the estate attorney you chose, because our estate attorney was a crook.
Okay, you've got to be careful. So what you want to do is, like, if you need an estate attorney, talk to somebody like me who's in the business and can give you a referral. So I work with an estate attorney, and he knows that if he screws something up, I'm not going to refer business to him anymore. So, so you want to have people who are vetted. You want to have people that you trust also trust, and that will help you make sure that you're making
attorney for well over 30 years. He just ripped us off in the end.
I'm sorry to hear that. I really am sorry to hear that.
Well, let me, before you move on, there are a lot of comments. So a lot of them are coming from Malik Jenkins. He says an agreement exists where there's a mutual understanding regarding rights, responsibilities among parties to a business agreement. A contract is an agreement between respective parties that creates legally binding obligations.
Yes.
He says agreements still have stipulations attached to protect both parties, and both parties should still review them thoroughly prior to signing. And deposits are a good idea. James says, wow, he's learning. I think Be Free, is that right? He said he's learning about probate. This is great information, and he's going through this right now. So you're helping someone right now. Craig, we're going to give your we're going to give you Craig's information in case you need to reach out to him, and he can help you and consult with you. That's one of the gifts.
Just lost her father, so I'm sure she's going through the same thing. Her father just passed away, so I'm sure that's a lot to go through. Maybe she'd heard it. Man, if we were just a little while earlier, you would have heard the information. You could have done it beforehand.
I wish I had known Craig when my mama passed, because I
would have too. But we don't care about the mistakes you made in the past. What we care about now is where you are right now and what you're going to do in the future, right? That's what we're concerned with. So when you talk to somebody like me, that's what I'm going to be concerned with. I'm going to help you figure out ways to make less mistakes with your money. And ultimately, what we'd like to do is we'd like to have you make no mistakes with your money. If you're doing the right things with your money starting now at our age, we're going to be okay in retirement. But if we start making big mistakes with our money now as we're approaching retirement, we're going to have a rough go of it, folks. So it's really, really, I would say anybody who's listening, anybody, you need a financial advisor, a financial coach, a financial specialist, somebody that you can bounce ideas off of. I mean, I'm getting so many people now. What do you think of crypto? I'm like, I throw my hands up in the air. I was like, you have no money and you're talking about crypto? Bitcoin was $60,000 a Bitcoin like a month ago. Now it's 30. I mean, who can afford that? Who can stomach that kind of volatility? And if your entire financial plan is having a Bitcoin grow when it's completely volatile, that's ridiculous. You need other approaches to be able to achieve your financial goals. And there's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of really good ways, and there's a lot of really bad things that people do. So yeah, get yourself a financial coach, a financial specialist, a financial advisor, whatever it is. Make sure that you're talking to somebody who does this for a living and keeps up on what's going on currently. Because, Cynda, how much time do you spend looking over what's going on in the financial markets? Probably
zero.
Yeah, zero. What about you, Shell?
No, the only thing I keep hearing constantly is crypto, and everybody keeps saying, well, just buy 20 a week. Just do this. I hear it every day. They're even having a crypto conference.
Well, they are. So things are definitely changing when it comes to crypto, but by virtue of the fact that we saw Bitcoin drop by 50% like literally off a cliff in the past month, how many people do you know that could handle that in their financial plan? Now, if you had $1 million to play with and you lost $30,000, who cares? But if you have $60,000 to your name and you put it all in crypto and you lose half, what do you think those people are doing now? They're probably losing a lot of sleep, right?
But they're saying everybody says that what goes down will come up. So just hold on, hold tight. It's going to go back up. That's what they're telling me.
Sure. You know what? And that when you look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, when you look at the S&P 500 going all the way back to 1926, almost a century, that is absolutely the case. But we're talking about the largest corporations in the United States. We're not talking about a virtual currency that has literally only come into existence in the past decade and only come into being used on an ongoing basis by a portion of the population within the last couple of years. We don't know what's going to happen with it. We don't know what the government's going to do. There's already reports out there about China trying to tamp down cryptos. We don't know what the Fed is going to do. We've got Janet Yellen on record saying that cryptocurrency is based on very, very little. And when you've got that kind of question marks out there, I would err on the side of caution when it comes to handling your money. We don't want to be put in a position where we're losing a lot of money, especially if we don't have a lot of it. That's my position, and that's what and I will tell everybody that exact same advice, unless you're really, really wealthy and you can play with your money more. Most people don't have the luxury of being able to play with their money and speculate with their money. Most people need to manage their money. And there's a huge difference between speculative money management and sane money management.
Yeah, don't play with my money. Because you mentioned we're all talking about gig workers in the beginning. So for gig workers, there's no, what's it called, pension and no, that kind of stuff. So what do we do? What if we're not doing crypto and we're not doing Bitcoin, what should we do as a gig worker? Because there's no pension or whatever they get at the end. You see, I've been an entrepreneur so long, I don't even know what you get. But how do I get that?
So this will be the last answer because we're past our break time. Before
it always works this way. Mm-hmm. We always run over, Cynda.
I know.
So
you're going to be our only guest very soon. We got to schedule that.
Okay, whatever you want to do. So gig workers, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are listening who are gig workers, guess what? Your entire retirement is on you. It's on your shoulders. So when you pay your taxes, your self-employment tax, part of your self-employment tax, that goes to fund Social Security, your Social Security. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there are various types of retirement plans out there that you need to be aware of. Now, a lot of people who are in gigs, they have survival jobs. They might work at Starbucks or a place like that. Starbucks has 401k plans. Max it out. Put as much money as you possibly can into your 401k plan and get as much of the matching dollars from your employer as you can, because that's free money. I harp on this all the time. I talk to people all the time. They're not putting money in the 401k plan. Why? Why would people do that? Well, if I'm putting money in the market, I'm just gambling. I might as well go to the casino. Nonsense. That's a load of nonsense. It's not true. First of all, the markets have grown at an average of 10% a year on average over the past century. Sometimes, like during the credit crisis, when the markets were down 40%, markets go down. But in the ensuing years afterwards, the market were up 400%. So we want to be investing in the markets. If you don't have access to a survival job with a 401k plan, you have to do it yourself with an IRA, a Roth IRA, or a SEP IRA. A SEP IRA is a self-employment pension. The contribution limits on a SEP are higher than on a regular IRA or a Roth. If you're under the age of 50, you can put $6,000 a year tax deferred into an IRA. You can put $6,000 into a Roth, but that's money that you already paid taxes on. And in many cases, that might not be right for you. Most people would benefit way more from getting the tax deduction now and paying taxes later. Then you've got the SEP IRA, the self-employed pension. The limits on that are higher. I believe they're $13,000. And on your Roth and on your regular IRA, if you're over the age of 50, there's a $1,000 catch-up contribution. So you can put $7,000 into those accounts if you're over 50.
All right, we got to talk more about this, but we also have a guest we have to bring on. Thank you so much, Craig Engel.
You're welcome.
When you, if you don't mind, sometime go on Facebook in the chat and type in your information, or maybe Shelly, if he can give it to you on the break, we can type it into the chat for.
I'll type it in right in the chat right now. Okay.
Sent. Jenny, you're getting ready to come on in a half an hour or so. We'll figure out a way for you to ask him or that on the break or something. She got a question, but we're got a question.
Go, Craig.
Jenny got a question.
Go, Craig. Go, Craig.
Go, Craig. Go, Craig. Okay, so we will see you by 3.5 minutes. Please come back. We have our phenomenal guest, Glenn Murray, and I'm really excited to hear the conversation amongst these two, Craig and Glenn, and Shelly, all these marketing smart business people. So come back and join us. There is more.
It's the PPC Radio Show, hosted by Cynda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio. Grown Folks Radio. WGFB-FM Radio.
So are you ready? Yeah.
How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
For the health and safety of our guests and team members, we're here for you. That means frequently deep cleaning our stores and wiping down carts and baskets after each use.
All right, I just posted it. Your information on Facebook. Where did everybody go? Why did everybody disappear? Like a lonely kid. You're on mute.
Where do I go on Facebook?
I just posted it on underneath for the link. It was on my page, and I just posted it, and it's on Cynda's as well. But I just copied and pasted your information.
Okay, I'll go to Cynda's page. Let's see what she's got going, because there may be Cynda, are you having questions right there on your page with this?
Jenny said, what if you have an old 401k from a job that's just sitting, but only has a few hundred in it? Should she move it?
She should. It's really important that, is she listening right now, do you think?
Probably. It's Jenny. Yeah. Okay,
Jenny, you should. First of all, you don't know how that money's being managed by your previous company. Whereas with your new company, you should have a really good idea of the way you can do that. You lose control of your money when you leave it behind. I had a situation with somebody who left their money behind. They worked for McDonald's, and this franchise got a new owner, and this person was sent a note saying, hey, we're changing 401k plan providers. You need to pick out your new selections because it's self-directed what you have to do with a 401k. And he never did it. So what this company did is they took all the money he had in this 401k, and it wasn't a huge amount of money. It was like 10 grand. But what they did is they put it into a savings account. What do savings accounts pay these days?
Oh,
Rewind 24/7, 365.
Yo, what's
Nothing.
good? This is Tracy Lee, and you already know I gets down with the get down, man. Grown Folks Radio all day.
Hi, everybody. This is Cynda Williams, and I am the co-host of the Melanated Morning Show and the host of the PPC Radio Show. And you are listening to Grown Folks Radio. Radio.
yeah. Jenny got your messages. We could go on
It's
and
the
on with
PPC
this
Radio Show. Hosted by Cynda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. DJ Joe Storm. Grown Folks Radio. Hosted by Cynda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. DJ Joe Storm. Grown Folks Radio. Hosted by
All right, Craig, I think, did you go to Facebook, Craig?
I did. I'm off now.
Okay. That's what was going on, all the echoing, because you had
Yeah, it was crazy.
show on it. It's a lag. It's a lag. Anyway, thank you so much. 2, 3. Yeah, you got to mute Facebook. Anyway, thank you so much, Craig. Now we are excited to have our today's guest. He was on the PPC podcast with me. He is my publisher with 220 Publishing, Glenn Murray. Please, everyone, welcome Glenn Murray.
Hey, Glenn.
Unmute. Hey, how's everyone doing? Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. This has been interesting. I've been busy listening to Craig and soaking up all the knowledge he's sharing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That every time Craig is on, we're like, oh man, we run out of time because we could talk all day. That's why he's gonna have to be a guest. Like Shelly was the guest last week. But anyway, so Glenn, some people that are listening in did not listen to the podcast. So why don't we start with you telling everybody about who you are, where you come from, and all of that.
All right, I will be really quick. I'll give you my elevator speech. Glenn Murray, I'm originally from Memphis, but I've lived in Chicago for off and on for the last 20 some years. The founder of a company called 220 Holdings, which I'm a schizophrenic entrepreneur sometimes because I have a bunch of businesses underneath that. The main ones being 220 Publishing, of which Cynda Williams is an author, Pink Candy Confessions, one of my favorites. We have a company called Wine Crawl, which is my fun business, which everybody should create a fun business once in their lives. Wine Crawl is a private wine tour, and we're in 5 different cities with franchisees grown over the last 6 years. Also, I am co-owner of a company, a production company, G Rose Productions. So you've already had the better part of the company on already. Keisha Rose, she was on your show a few months ago. So I'm just kind of pulling up the rear, doing what I have to do. So, but we have a lot of fun with that show. We actually have a couple of shows we produce, Books and Bottles, that you've been on, and also Live from the Cave, which is me and 3 other gentlemen discussing everything from relationships, politics, current events, and everything in between. So we have a lot of fun with that. We've been doing it for a year now. It was our COVID relief method, and it became a show, and it really became a thing. So we celebrated 1 year a couple of weeks ago. So that's.
Do you need a white boy on your show?
We are open to everybody. We welcome everyone. We've had guests of all nationalities, so we welcome.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to join you.
Your information would be great for that show. We actually were just talking about show ideas, and we really needed to talk about succession planning and kind of what do you do to get your stuff in order, like a whole show about getting your house in order when you talk about insurance and everything else. And for a lot of reasons, I actually just lost a friend of mine who I've known for like the last 30 years, and he died. I think he's in his mid 40s, and he passed away just recently, like a few days ago, and didn't have insurance. So, I mean, there's just a lot that you have to think about with that. And even me, and I consider myself fairly astute financially, but I just got life insurance last year.
Well, at least you got it.
Yeah, that's true. But, just thinking about it, and my dad's a broker for Edward Jones, so he talks to me a lot. I do listen to him now. I think I listen to my dad more now as an adult than I ever did as a young man, because he actually does know what he's talking about. but he talks a lot about finances and making your money work for you. And that's a very important thing to think about, as well as succession planning for businesses. It's not just your life. If you own businesses, as well, like what happens after you leave? What's your operation plan after you leave? We do a lot of planning internally while we're living, but when you're gone, does the business keep going? Does it end? How does that work? You have contracts. I have tons of contracts because I have a publishing company. So what happens to all those contracts if something happens? I got hit by a bus tomorrow. So things that you have to think about. There's a lot that goes into that. So this is such a really relevant topic.
So that's why you need a financial coach or specialist, and he's in Chicago. Anyway, so I'm sure we'll get back into all of that. So the caveman, what's it called? Caveman.
Live from the cave. Live from the cave.
Live from the cave. Yes, I love that. I love that idea. I know Eddie DJ Cadisco has his male bonding show.
I'm
too.
over here salivating. I was getting ready to ask my one random question, Glenn. You got room for a random black guy? I would love to be on that show just once.
we welcome random black, white, Hispanic.
Well, I'm the random black guy. Sometimes.
Wait, Eddie, you're black?
Sometimes. It depends.
Eddie, you're black? When did that happen? You just wake up that way or what?
But seriously, I would love to when you said politics, my antennas went up series, right?
Mm-hmm.
It gets intense.
Everyone y'all talking about politics, he might take over and argue with somebody. He's got to argue with somebody, so he's perfect for the philosophy.
But that's the appeal of the show. It's like 5 guys sitting in a basement, enjoying a beverage, and really just talking about life in general. I mean, the show takes on a life of its own. Sometimes we have a set, maybe 2 or 3 topics we want to discuss, but before we know it, we're off on something else. But it's been really popular. I mean, of course, the most popular portion of it is when we start talking about relationships, because for some reason, women want to hear what we have to say until we say too much, and then they want their own opinion. Because I can't tell you how many women have wanted to be like, well, you should do a show where I come in and tell you all off and tell you about yourself. But like, no, come in. This is what
you have The View and all of those shows.
Yeah, right? Exactly. The View, the Chew, the Talk.
Every woman, you do it every day. So okay, we'll obviously get more into business, but this is a self-help platform. So I do want to get into this whole thing of eliminate the noise, because I know that you were new to Chicago. You came to Chicago. Chicago is a very cliquish town, meaning, you might or might not have talent, but if you know Pookie, you're going to get the job, right? But whereas so it's somebody coming in that has all this to offer, it's hard to break in. But you did it. You broke in. So can you tell us how you were able to break through that silent wall of you got to go to, Dunbar High School to get a job here? How'd you do that?
Yeah, Chicago can be interesting sometimes. I think my thing was I just didn't listen. Like if you're truly a disruptor and if you're truly driven, you become hard of hearing, because a lot of the noise is negative. So you got to learn to be hard of hearing to the noise and really push that out, and also be open to meet everybody and talk to everybody and meet them where they are. So, we made the joke that Man Cave is welcome to everybody, but I got friends that look like the world. Seriously, I have friends, that are a broad range of ethnicities, because I was willing to go talk to them about things. I was willing to go reach out to a whole different audience that didn't look like me to talk about wine crawl, because I knew that audience was interested in it. And I had been to wine tastings and I didn't always see me there, but I made friends and I was able to do that. So really it's a couple of things. It's being able to be open to supporting people, and it's being able to being open to people and differing views. I think that's what really helped us success, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you personally, you've gone through your share of things. You've gone through your share of things, and you've still managed to maintain your people person esque ways. You're always willing and dealing. That's how we met. For you, the people that don't know, we met at a film festival opening. Randy Crawford, my brother's law school friend, introduced me to Chicago that way. And that's how we met. And through that time, we've been working together ever since. And you have gone through so much turmoil. How do you keep yourself sane? How do you keep yourself in a positive place?
I have to give credit to my mother, who was always a calming influence on me. And even when things were at their worst for me, when I was looking at business failures, which there have been plenty of, she always kept a positive attitude. She always kept telling me what I was going to be, that, this is a minor setback. And you have to understand that. And you really do have to understand that setbacks are temporary. Some of them hurt really, really bad, though. Some of them sting. But they are temporary, and there is that other side that you have to keep pushing for. It wouldn't be, if it were easy, everybody would be able to do it. And you have to remember that as well. So you push yourself by what you learn that you can handle. I think that really is your makeup. There was a question on Clubhouse. They were like, are you a disruptor? And what's a disruptor? And I'm like, a disruptor is like a fire person. They run toward the fire. Because what's forged in fire? Steel. Your metal is forged in fire and under the pressure of it. So I think that's what's happened to me, through loss, through business setbacks, through all of that. It's been plenty of that. I've found my way. Now, I'd be lying if I said there were times that I didn't want to give up. And honestly, like a few years ago, I was ready to let go of like almost everything. As you know, I lost my mother 5 years ago in April. And it was very tough. So those couple of years after that, just thinking, do I just really want to do this? I was ready to give up publishing. I had written out a letter that I was going to send to all of you guys to say, hey, this is your book. It's your property. I wish you well. I'm walking away. I was ready to do that. And, I ended up not doing that. And I'm glad I didn't because, in the last year, we've had a couple of #1 books. I was able to write a little bit more. I contributed to Faith, Failure, Success. So it's totally a different look now than it was 3 or 4 years ago. But had I let the darkness kind of take over and walk away from it, I never would have been here talking to you about it. So you have to think about that during those times, that it gets really dark, but there's something better coming.
Keisha said you came to Chicago. Hey, Keisha, kicking down the doors. That's what she said.
I don't know if I kicked them down. I think I may have tapped on a few and they didn't open them. I don't know if I kicked them in. Like, I'm here. Because I didn't know what I didn't know back then, like 1996 when I got to Chicago. And I didn't know what I wanted to be. So I didn't know quite who I was, what my purpose here was. At first it was just working. And, as the years went on, I created a company that helped artists, visual artists as well. And we were creating programming. So it really started off as an events company. So it wasn't anything like it looks now. It was not there. As time went on, I had a friend that wrote a book and I started helping her promote books. So that's how I kind of got into the publishing side of it. I was helping somebody that wrote a book and it was a terribly written book. It had a reference in there that could have gotten us sued for libel, because it was flat out wrong. It was just an incorrect reference about a public figure. And I told her about it and she was like, whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's not what I want to be associated with. So if I'm going to put my name on it, the Oprah philosophy, it doesn't have your fingerprints on it. It doesn't need to have your name on it. So I kind of embraced that and figured I needed to own the process from beginning to end to be able to do that quality check and be able to really put out a product that I could be proud of, that I'm going to put my name behind. So that's where the publishing company started. And from there, everything else I did just kind of rolled in after that. The wine crawl business got started because I was in Napa and I saw these limo tours and I was like, okay, that looks cool. I can do this in Chicago. I do events. I know what I'm doing. I didn't know what I was doing, but thought I knew what I was doing. I told myself I knew what I was doing enough to at least try it. And sometimes you have to just jump out there and try things. So we were talking about this in the pre-show of, writing is not an exact science, and neither is pretty much life for that matter. If everybody had a perfect, way to live it, we would have followed a blueprint and we do it and we'd avoid a lot of the pain that we have, but we don't. So you just sometimes have to jump out there and experience life. You have to jump out there and live. So we jumped out and tried Wine Crawl, and it became successful. But it just takes a little bit of fearlessness, which is hard, which is easier said than done.
Yeah, but it is so true. Shelly, you got something you want to ask or say?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the publishing. So, we're in the age that everybody's doing self-publishing. And what are the pros and cons about self-publishing versus publishing? What does publishing offer you as a writer, as a author?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, because we actually do both. We actually help authors who want to self-publish. We help them put the package together and give them a really good finished product. The difference between self-publishing and publishing it's gotten slimmer over the last decade, because it's so easy to get your book out there now. Print on demand was the first thing that made it really easy for publishing companies and for self-published authors. The next thing is the proliferation of Amazon and the decentralization of trying to get your book in a bookstore. That doesn't mean as much anymore to get your book on the shelf at Barnes & Noble. If you look at it, you're going to see people who have a huge audience, famous people. That's what you're going to see in the bookstores, because that's what they want. So it's easier to go to Amazon, where you can reach a wide audience by doing that. So the biggest difference now is, if you want to invest in yourself and take a chance on yourself and probably end up making a lot more money than you would make with a publisher, then self-publishing is the option for you. Can you be successful at either one? Absolutely, because it still comes down to you. So if you think about it, the record business and the publishing business look a lot alike. So I say, okay, Shelly, I love your book. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm Mr. Publisher. I'm Mr. Big Time Publisher. So I'm not big time right now, but imagine I was one of the Super 6 big publishing houses. I would say, okay, we're gonna take your book. We're gonna give you an advance. We're going to put it out there. We're going to sell it. We're going to market it. It's going to be all over the place. You're going to be famous. And that's going to be great, because I'll probably give you anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000, which sounds pretty good at first. Mm-hmm. But think about how far $10,000 to $20,000 will go. And if you sell 1 million books, so you've sold 1 million books and you're waiting on that next check from me. But I'm like, well, we had to pay for getting this book out. I had to pay for marketing, Shelly. I had to pay a lot of stuff to make you a star. And I'm going to keep that money, because I got to pay myself back first before we start paying you. So you end up making, probably after your advance, and then after I make my money back, then you may see some money. How long is that going to take? I don't know. So that's publishing. One of the things we do differently, because we're not that big, so I can't give people big advances, but what we do is we give them larger percentages of their royalties, much larger. The average person who has a publishing agreement probably makes about less than $1 a book off of what they sell, after printing, distribution, everything else, all those costs. For self-publishing, right now, you can literally go do that through Amazon. There's a lot of other, they call them vanity publishers, but basically they put the books together for you and help you get out there and put your book out. Now, what's the one thing you don't have? Promotion. So that's really what sells your book. So what are you doing? I always say the work really starts after the book comes out, because writing it and getting it out has become very easy. It's really publishing, it's really promoting it that becomes hard. So that's the difference, where the publishing company will give you they have a little bit more heft behind where they can get your book. But if you have a strong marketing plan, if you have a strong marketer, and I always tell people, understand the difference between a publisher and a publicist, because a publicist really works for you and helps you get it out. As a publisher, yes, I'm going to put it out. I'm going to make it available to the world. We'll do some marketing behind it, but I can't go in and find, interview opportunities for you, things like that.
So, Kid,
I'm sorry.
No, it answered my question 100%. It made it clear, but Kid had a question, I think.
Yeah, Kid, and then we can go to break, and then we're going to bring Jenny Groom right
Well,
now.
actually, I was going to read a comment from my live feed that was kind of deep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from your sissy, Shelly, of course, Monty on this one. She said, "Hey guys, do you think that some of the tragedies that you've been through help mold you?" I'm gonna answer that first. Hell yeah. Watch the 5 Heartbeats, where they say in that one scene, Duck's a great writer, but he's a good writer, but he'll be great if he suffers more.
If he suffers
That's
more.
real. That's real.
I mean, it's unfortunate that you have to go through some things to really find your greatness, but pressure bust pipe, cold diamonds, so it all adds to what you're doing, and it all adds your greatest success.
Yeah, one of the things that really taught me about living is I lost 4 friends around between the ages of 40 and 45 for different reasons. One had breast cancer at 40. She passed away after her first diagnosis. One was at 43 and he had undetected diabetes. Another was 45 and dropped dead of a heart attack. And another one was 44 and had lupus. And it ended up killing her. So these were all friends that I was either a little bit younger than or around the same age of. And all of that happened we're talking back to back through my early 40s. So yeah, that made a difference for me because I look at, the things I would do fundraisers and things like that. And in a way it was honoring them, it was keeping them alive, but it was also teaching me a lesson that life and tomorrow aren't promised. So whatever you're doing today, you need to make it count. So whatever that blank canvas is when you wake up in the morning, you need to really understand that it's yours to create. And it might be your legacy that you're leaving by creating that. So yeah, pressure, and some pressure we put on ourselves, but some comes just because life, just from living. You don't have to do anything to have stuff happen to you.
Mm-hmm. It does. All right. Okay. On that note, let's go to our 3.5-minute break. Thank you. This is some great conversation, and I think we're helping some people. And we're going to come back with Jenny Graham, our resident therapist, so she can give us a good 10 minutes of her thoughts, and then we can finish this conversation. It's been a beautiful thing. Thank you.
It's the PPC Radio Show, hosted by Cynda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio. Grown Folks Radio. WGFB-FM Radio.
So are you ready?
Yeah. How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
For the health and safety of our guests and team members, we're here for you. That means frequently deep cleaning our stores and wiping down carts and baskets after each use, reserving
Hey, Facebook. Everybody's doing their own thing. But thank you so much for joining us. James said that he and I went to wine crawl together in Chicago, and it was a lot of fun.
Yes,
James,
he did the one on the boat. He really went to the fun one. James, you picked the right one to go to.
Exactly. James is so cool. He is one of our relationship started on social media, one of my social media besties, and we've done some fun things, especially going to the wine crawl. That was really an experience. And so you guys, which cities are you in, Glenn?
Birmingham, Atlanta, Dallas, Chicago, and the Carolinas.
Y'all really got to go to a wine crawl. I mean, honestly, I love the book part of it, but I think most people come for the wine part.
I think so, Cynda. Yes, I think so.
It's a party. It's a great party, and you can meet some authors and get some autographs and get some great books. But the wine, is nice.
Yeah, we're looking to expand. So if you're in Houston, Philly.
Philly? What are we doing in Philly? You said Philly.
I know. And some other places. So we're definitely looking at expanding it into other cities. So we're looking for franchisees. We have a franchisee. So if you're interested, people are interested in being a franchisee.
24/7, 365.
Yo, what's good? This is Tracy Lee, and you already know I gets down with the get down, man. Grown Folks Radio all day.
Hi, everybody. This is Cynda Williams, and I am the co-host of the Melanated Morning Show and the host of the PPC Radio Show. And you are listening to Grown Folks Radio.
It's the PPC Radio Show. Hosted by Cynda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio.
All right. Oh.
PPC, yeah. PPC, yeah. Joining so we can grow together. Conversation, get that healing.
Okay.
Whoops.
All right. That was a new mix.
That's what happens with live radio, y'all. Sometimes technology just don't work with you.
Okay, kid disco.
We're back.
Well, thank you for coming back. If you're just joining us, your PPC Radio Show, we have been speaking first with Craig Engel, who always hooks us up with the info. Today, really talking to gig workers and all of that, and what you need. Yes, it was an explosion of information. And then we brought on Glenn Murray, who is my publisher and friend, and a whole bunch more, who has so much to offer. Y'all got to check him out. We're going to hear more from him. But first, we're going to get Jenny Graham's gems from her self-help treasure chest to tell us what she thought of what we've been saying. And so maybe give you guys some clue.
I love this, Shelly and I are both like, round of applause. Hey everyone, thanks for having me. It's good to see you, Shelly and Cynda. Hey Craig, and nice to meet you, Glenn. Yeah, this has been good. Eliminate the noise. I love that title for so many reasons, and it is so relevant because we live in a society with so much noise, like ridiculous amounts of noise. So y'all know I'll be taking my little notes. So I'll be looking over here a little bit. Glenn, I love what you said about be open to connect with and to receive support from or support people who look different from you. I love that so much because like team building to me is so important that you have a diverse group of people around you. And that's something that I truly, truly value. Like even growing up, my parents used to call my friends the United Nations because I grew up in Downingtown. We didn't have a whole lot of diversity, but the little bit that we did have, like those were all my friends. And I think that sometimes we in society get kind of conditioned to be like weary of or afraid of connecting with people who are different, as if that we don't have similar values and stuff like that. So I think it's really important to like definitely have like a team of people around you and to be open to learn from different people because we all have different life experiences. We all perceive things differently because we have different life experiences, because of the ways our social identities have impacted the trajectory of our life, which does include like, which goes beyond just race and gender, because I think we always just focus on those two, which, you know, I'm guilty of that myself, but also by default, because that's the ones that people focus on the most. But I think that's so, so important. So I appreciate you naming that, because we can also hold ourselves back unintentionally when we don't realize, and this is something I've realized for myself too, is like, there have been times that I haven't been open to receive support or haven't recognized how much people wanted to pour into me and support me because I was caught up in my fears and concerns of what people were projecting onto me because I'm Black or because I'm woman, because I'm young and stuff like that. And I can see in hindsight how like that got in my own way at certain times in my life. Also, you know, I think being clear about what I like to tell people to come up with like a personal mission statement and a personal value statement. Especially because like the work that I do is primarily with people who identify as change agents. And so, you know, we're like, we want, like Craig was even saying earlier, we want to help everybody. Let's help all the people. You can't help all the people. And you can't do all the things. You know, you need to know what are your things. What, you can have like Glenn, you said you have a plethora of things, but I'm sure, and like just the way you share about them, those are things that you're passionate about. So I think it's so helpful because like if you have a business, most businesses have like a mission statement and a value statement. And if you have one that's personal, and I actually read mine, I'm looking at my phone, I actually read mine every day because it also reminds me like, where do I need to center myself? And then all of the decisions that I make, like, are they supporting this? Because if they're not, it's in the way, you know? And if there's people in your life who aren't able to support that stuff, that's in the way too. You know, and that doesn't mean you have to cut all the people off, but you know, it's helpful though to recognize like who you can go to and talk about certain things if you're clear on like what your personal mission is. Also too, Glenn, you said that setbacks are temporary. I feel like one of the things that has been really helpful for me is to ask the question or reframe the experience. Like, what if this is happening for me and not to me? You can get so much deep insight if you start to recognize like, well, what if this happened for me? Because then it automatically frames the opportunity to think about like, well, what did I learn in this situation? What opportunities are possible now? What growth is possible for me? You know, what connections can I gain and stuff? Or what connections do I need to let go of? So I love that. Like, is this happening for me? Versus is this happening to me? Because I think we're always like, oh, poor me, is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? And just that subtle shift of like, I wonder why this is happening for me is really powerful. Also, like little quick story about setbacks and just like life learning lessons. So my very first business, I was selling personalized dog furniture. Those of you who know me personally know that I'm a bit of a dog whisperer. The animals, they love me. Strays will approach me on the streets. So that was my very first business. And I didn't sell anything. I sold one pillow, and the only pillow I sold was because I did these things called gappy hours at different like kennels and like doggy daycares and stuff. And one of the dogs ate one of the pillows, and so that was my only sale. And but you know what I learned in that, like to me, that business was not a failure because I learned that I was able to create a business. I learned that I had the skill set to write out a business plan. I learned that I had the skill set to connect with people. I literally had these Amish guys in Lancaster making my furniture for me. Like that was some high quality stuff. Probably something I may even revisit in the future. But, you know, it wasn't a failure to me, even though I technically put a bunch of money into it, never actually made any money. But it was a great opportunity for me. And this along that lines too, that like growth is never linear, you know, and I think we forget that, you know, that also that like our growth, sometimes the things that we need to learn will take us down a path that we think we don't want to go down. So other quick little short story on that one is, I don't know where I heard this before, and I don't know if anyone has heard this. This person like wanted a red Corvette, and they were like praying, and this was like their goal, one of their focus. They wanted this red Corvette, and they had an opportunity. Randomly, somebody asked them if they wanted to buy this bike, and it was a red bike, like regular pedal bike, and they were like, "Oh, that's crazy! Like, nah, like I'm saving up. I'm trying to get this Corvette." And it's an opportunity of like, well, what if you did take the red bike instead? And what if, because you're riding your bike to work, you're saving more money because you're not paying for public transportation. You're not paying for the gas in the old car that you don't like anyway. What if while you're riding to work, you end up losing a lot of weight because you were concerned about that and your health is better and stuff like that? What if because you lost weight, you were at the gym and you met this perfect person to like marry or connect with or partner with? Like all of these other things could have happened if you were like open to that experience. That didn't seem like it was in alignment with what you want. So I think that even goes back to like opening to connect with people, just be open to opportunities and experiences. Cause like we usually don't know what it is that we need to learn sometimes. And so we may have to have a specific experience that feels like it's taking us off course, but it's actually realigning us and positioning us in the ways that's going to be best for us. And my last nugget, I guess my last gem is what Shelly's sister shared that Kid Disco shared about tragedy molding you. I like to think about it from the perspective that trauma experiences are not your story. They are experiences that are a part of your story. And part of that becomes your foundation. Your true story is the one that you write after you've moved through those trauma experiences, which does incorporate your healing process. Because when you heal through and you grow through your trauma versus just going through it, your trauma is not your only narrative anymore. So that's my last little gem for y'all for today.
I need a boom. I need a boom on that. Can I get a boom, yo? Boom.
Boom.
And just over there chilling like.
He was chilling
I
too
give a
hard
boom.
today.
Yeah, you gotta always be prepared with Jenny because she always
No,
gotta.
honestly, I was deep into thought, listening, hanging on to every word.
You was in the zone. You was like,
No, I was in your
No,
zone.
that is the boom.
I was in your zone, Jenny. I really, truly was. Y'all have
No, since it's Jenny's gems, we need a bunch of gems dropping.
I like that. I'll get on that. I like
ooh,
that.
the clanking sparkle of gems. Ooh, because I do talk about you got sparkle and shine on them.
Yes, we got some gems. Boom.
I think you should write a book, Jenny, called Jenny's Gems, and then give us a whole bunch of y'all tools, baby. Anyway, and then Glenn, go to Glenn, and Glenn can help you make that book. And then I can read the audible version of it, and then Craig could direct the movie, and then DJ Disco can help with the production, and then Shelly could. Okay, I'm sorry.
I
I'm
actually
getting
did have
excited.
a book idea though, and it's been it came up last week here, and it keeps coming up. So I'm receiving, I'm paying attention. So forthcoming, book forthcoming.
Well, listen, you told me to get on mine, so get on yours.
What'd you say, Shell?
You told me to get on mine, so get on yours. So listen, it's
right.
a two-part thing. It's
You're
a two-part accountability here.
You're right. You're right. Check in on me about it. Hold me accountable, definitely.
My wife and I, we always talk about how you need to look at your life backwards. You have to look at where you are today. Instead of going all the way back and narrating your life from the past forward, start from where you are now and go backwards. Because frankly, if all of the things didn't happen to you in the past the way they did, where you are now never would have happened. And if you really, really, really are pleased with the progress that your life has taken, that's the only way you can look at it.
You know
That's
what
a way to write gratitude lists too, is to think about where you are and then have gratitude for past experiences.
I'm sorry.
No,
you know why I'm in a Jenny zone right now? I don't usually on Cynda's show open up like this, but this is what I love about the PPC. I can be Eddie and not Kid Disco. This morning when we were doing the morning show, Cece.
Mm-hmm.
You said something, and later on while I was eating lunch, I was thinking, I'm like, damn, if I could just make that work for myself. When you said that I have this ability to set people up in opportunities and sit back and fall back in the background, and it's been working like crazy. Mm-hmm. And there's been times, especially here lately, I've been saying, like, why am I doing all of this? It's not going where I just want to be other places. But when you have no in-house help whatsoever, it's support. It's just every day is a yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, because you're in a transition. We were talking about transitions, Kid Disco's in a transition because he's got to readjust from having done this thing his whole life, the DJing and all that stuff, and then with his site, and then everything changes. And it's like either you adapt or you die, and you don't have to die literally. You can just curl up and watch TV for the rest of your life and be miserable. And you got to transition. And I know, like, one of my favorite things that I just recently read this, and it just like hit me so hard. It said, every time you say, am I going to survive this? Am I going to make this? Realize that you're here asking that question. You have survived everything up till now. You've gotten here. And so if you choose, you can continue to survive and thrive. You know, DJ's been out front, you know, kid's been out front, and now he's like helping all these other people thrive and grow, and he's producing it. And I just think it's an amazing gift to be able to make that transition. And that's also the transition I'm making. I'm writing tons of scripts. I'm not writing them for me. I'm writing for other people to do. And I just think that is evolution. That's the way life should be and can be if you let it. And you don't get caught up in the, you know, being the one, being in the front, being, you know, your ego and all of that stuff. And it's about just living day to day and enjoying it and thriving. You know?
I think if he comes back to purpose and mission, if he goes with what Jenny said, write your mission. If he understands his mission, then you can understand that when you think this is not working, see, internally he's thinking, oh my God, it's not working. I want numbers. I want this. But if you go back to your mission, what is your mission? Is your mission to get numbers? You write your goals in the way you want. What do you want? All right. Is it to make people give people an outlet? Is it to make people give information? If you come back to your goals, the goals that help people, then you won't be so hard thinking about the numbers and it's not working, or I want it to be this, or I want to go on this tour. I want all those things that you want. Start thinking about the mission statement. Write your own mission statement. This is what I want for the station. This is what I want for myself. And then maybe he'll start thinking that here's my purpose for this. And I know sometimes when you're doing this entertainment thing or this TV media thing, all these things, you're like, I want it to work. Why am I not working like a Charlemagne? Why can't I get numbers like a Charlemagne? Why can't we be on bigger stages like a Charlemagne? But at this particular point, it takes more than this, a year of a pandemic to grow. It takes a whole lot more. You can ask Glenn Murray, how long did it take you to get to that point where you felt like you were making it? It takes a long time. Those numbers aren't going to come on instantaneously. I've been at this for a lot of years, and those numbers don't happen overnight. But my purpose is different.
You know what's funny, folks? For those of y'all that don't get the funny part about this, she wasn't just giving me advice. That's my mentor. That's my partner in this station. We've had this discussion hundreds of times. Girly, this is just the first time it was public.
You know what's when you're talking? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I have something about Cynda, but go ahead.
No, sometimes you have to think about growth that's horizontal versus vertical. And when you grow horizontally, what does that mean? You grow out this way. So that means you have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to put yourself in the right position. You have to look at your territory, and not to get biblical, they always talk about enlarging your territory, but your territory doesn't really enlarge until you grow yourself. And that means, like Jenny said, being open to new experiences, to new people, to different things. And that's what helped me. I had to grow horizontally because I had to make sure I was surrounded by the right people before I could go vertically. You can't go up if you got somebody holding you down. So whatever's in your horizontal area of scope will help your vertical area of scope grow. I need to write that down because that literally came out.
Yes, the foundation. Horizontal growth. That was good. Yeah, write that down.
Write it down and get you a boom too.
Right? Yeah.
Here we go. The bombs are coming.
Next book.
Wow.
Right. I don't my next
book.
book.
About Cynda this week. This is interesting. So I know you all know that I'm a movie director and producer, and I think you all know that Cynda was one of the co-stars in my film. Well, like you were saying earlier, as an independent filmmaker, the marketing is on my shoulders and it's on my wife's shoulders. So we're constantly looking for ways to market our show and market our movie and market each other and market people in the cast. Well, this week,
You went silent, Craig. What's happening this week? This week.
Where am I? What happened?
There you
go. You really
have
to your seat.
You're back.
You ended at this week. This week.
Okay. All right. This week, we discovered that whatever Cynda was doing horizontally for herself and for her career, surrounding herself with people and experiences and doing things that are coming from the heart and from trying to make the world a better place. Well, this week, Cynda's rating on IMDb, which is the Internet Movie Database site online, put Cynda at 870, which means out of everybody in the entire entertainment business, there are only 779 people higher rated than Cynda. And that includes people like Steven Spielberg, all those kind of people. She's in that rarefied air. When you are like under 5,000, it's something. When you get under 1,000 like Cynda did this week, that is some high octane firepower. Yes, thank you. That's some high octane firepower for Cynda in the entertainment business. And so clearly the foundation that Cynda is laying for her career, for her writing, for her acting, for her performing, singing, whatever it is, it's starting to gain notice and acclaim with people. And so she is the first person that I'm thinking of when you do all the right things for the right reasons, then things start escalating for yourself. So Cynda, what do you have to say about all that?
Go Cynda, go Cynda. We love you. Go Cynda.
Well, all I have to say is I have no idea why that's happening, but I feel like when you put in the work and you keep moving forward and you keep your attitude together and you stay humble and you love people, maybe it's the fact that I'm doing a show. Maybe it's the fact that I'm doing the morning show. Maybe it's the movies that are coming out. Maybe it's all these, or maybe it's just my turn. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to be ready for your turn. I don't know what this is going to mean for me. Maybe I'll get some work out of it. I'm not sure where it's going to go.
You know how you can get some work? So can we get some marketing behind this? So then we get a press release, we get a publicist on it, and they start promoting it. Did you know that Cynda Williams is number 870? And you get put the press release all around the world, and then I'm telling you, now you got to put the marketing behind it, Glenn. Did I say Glenn?
Glenn.
Did I say Glenn?
You did say Glenn. That's what it sounded
Glenn,
like.
let's work together. But I'm telling you, if she gets the press release together and we start marketing the fact that that's happening, that's how the work comes. Now, once you get that nugget and you're like, oh, now I have the nugget, boom, there you go, boom. Yeah. Once you get the nugget, you got to market it.
And it's happening, Cynda, because of who you are. If you think about it, like way back when we first met, I was like, hey, I got this event. And you didn't know me from Adam. I was like, hey, I'd love to have you at the event. I just want to hear you sing Harlem Blues, honestly, because I love the song. But you were so kind and so giving of your time and of yourself to do that. And you may not even remember this, but I wasn't even there at the beginning of the event. And I was at a funeral, my grandfather's funeral. Never told you this, but I was coming in and I was late for the show. This was the show at the hotel Doubletree downtown in Chicago. You would not sing until I got there. Tressa was telling me, she called me. I had just gotten off the plane. I was on my way from O'Hare downtown. I get a call from Tressa. She's like, Cynda is not gonna sing until you get here. She knows you like this song. So it's little things like that stick with people. That was 12 years ago, probably now, but I remembered it. And I never forgot it. I really, love you to death for it. I mean, but that's who you are. And you don't even think about it because you probably didn't even remember that. But those are the things that put you in the position you are now. So horizontally, yes, you've grown horizontally because you've reached out and touched so many people with your kindness and with just your heart.
Offer me.
Oh man, Cynda, we can't get off of you until you agree that we're gonna do some marketing. And Glenn,
I'm 100% with you. And speaking of this, I mean, we can use this too with faith, failure, and success.
Exactly.
Glenn put together a group of us. We have a new book coming out. We're not gonna get too much into it because we don't have an exact date, but it's this summer, right?
Yeah, it's the summer. We're thinking July now. I talked to Stephanie yesterday, and she's thinking July, maybe August, but it's no later than August. So it'll be this summer. It'll be a summer release. So it's the second edition. I created a series called Faith, Failure, Success. The first one was a book talking about the entrepreneurial journey that actually made it to number 6 on the Amazon bestseller list. So it was one of our first top 10 bestsellers late last year, which was great. But then I got the idea and I'm like, okay, what can we really do with this? So I came up with a title called Surviving the Storm. And I usually don't handpick authors for anything that I do. But this project, I just kind of, like now we've published almost 80 books. So, you know, I don't really get involved deep down into projects. Faith, Failure, Success kind of became my pet project. So I handpicked the authors for the second edition, Surviving the Storm, which Cynda's one of them. But the stories, and I've read all the stories, so I know everybody's going to be blown away by the book, and the book's going to be number one. I'm putting it out there. It will be. The stories are amazing. I mean, just nothing short of amazing. So I know there's purpose behind Faith, Failure, Success, the whole series. People have talked about the first book and how great it was and how it inspired people, and I'm very proud of that. You know, I was a contributor too, so I wrote a little bit about a really great story about Find a Way. For all you people that are holding back on your books, I'll have to tell you that story before we end the show, because it will convince you that you need to write your book. I promise you it will. But
tell us now. Tell us now. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my chapter talks about Find a Way. One of these days, it's going to be a TED Talk. It's called If You Can Blink It, You Can Achieve It. And what that means is, anybody ever seen the movie The Diving Bell and the Butterfly? Have you heard of that movie? Yeah.
Yes.
So if you've heard of it, you know what it's about. It's about a gentleman who, it's a French movie. This gentleman was in his early 40s. He was editor of the French version of Vogue magazine, living life, bachelor, everything else. He had a stroke. Driving his son, he had a stroke. And he developed from that stroke something called locked-in syndrome, which means his whole body shut down. He couldn't move anything. The only part of his body he could move was his left eye. He could only blink his left eye. 43 years old. Life just pretty much done. So he had a book deal. He was supposed to write his memoir before that. So he taught himself the French alphabet. He learned the French alphabet, got himself somebody to record what he was writing, and he blinked out the entire book called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. So the book became a #1 bestseller and ended up becoming a movie, and it was nominated for like best French film in the Oscars.
Didn't that star Javier Bardem or somebody like that?
I think Javier Bardem did play him. Jean-Claude Babet was the name of the gentleman, Jean-Claude Babet. But yeah, so that was the true story. He blinked out his book. Everybody that's ever come to me about writing a book can use both arms, both legs, both eyes, and their mouth. And they still haven't written their book. There is no excuse that can truly stop you from what you really want to do. So if you can blink it, you can achieve it.
Okay.
Man, that means you be one on that one. Look,
right? Right, exactly.
Everybody's like, I did not mean, I'm not trying to show
yeah, it's all love though. I mean, like
it's all love, like you're right.
Because I've been told way too many times that I literally have like 3 books in me. And I know I have at least 3 in me.
I've had a woman every year, Facebook friend, I swear, for 10 years. And every year it's like, I'm gonna. And one day I told her, I'm like, you know, for all the times you told me you were gonna write a book, if I had $1 for those, I wouldn't even need to have a publishing company because I'd be rich. Of all the times you told me that, if I could just collect money off of that alone, off all the people that tell me they were gonna write. So yeah, there's really no excuse to do what you're supposed to do. Ooh. Not what you want to do and should do, might do. What you're supposed to do. Somebody is waiting on your book to change their life. Somebody's waiting on Faith, Failure, Success. Once they read Cynda's story and the other 4 or 5 ladies in this book, it's going to change lives. That's why I do it. Somebody was waiting on that. That's why I couldn't quit this whole publishing business as much as I wanted to, you know, and just run away and just go to parties and do wine crawls. That was the life I had planned for myself, but obviously that wasn't the purpose that I had for myself.
I know, Shelly, this reminds me kind of your story that you were telling about how God told you to do something and you didn't want to, and you put the same thing happened with me with the writing. I mean, I've been an actress. That's been my bread and butter for years. That's how I live. It's easy. I know how to do it. Just give me the script. I'll learn the lines and I'm good. But I had this voice in my head. Right. Over all the time, it was driving me crazy. I would go to bed. I hear this. I would wake up in the middle of the night. I hear this. It was saying, right. So that's why I started writing the blog, because this wouldn't stop. You know, it was as loud as any one of your voices is right now. I was being told to write. And so even though I didn't know if anybody would ever read it or care, I did it because I was being told to do it. And since then, multiple times, and it's not a bestseller by any means, but it is a life-changing book to some people. I have heard from people that have reached out to me and said, your story is so much like my own. I felt like I was reading about me, and you made it. So if you can keep going and do this, I know I can too. And those things, I mean, don't get me wrong, I want the millions, but one comment like that and knowing I helped somebody is worth millions. It's priceless. You can't put a price on having helped someone, at least for me. And it is
a bestseller. It's a bestseller because you say it's a bestseller. It's a bestseller once you start talking about it, once you start promoting it, once we continue to make it a part of our conversation that the PPC book is out. That's it. It is a bestseller. Just same way you did 879 on IMDb. It's the same way your book can be a bestseller, selling millions because you don't like to promote yourself. That's what we're gonna have to do it for you. We're gonna have to just do it for you. Although I promote you a lot, so I hope you know. So if you won't do it, we'll do it because it is a bestseller. It can be your $1 million.
It's never too late to become a bestseller. You can become a bestseller today if all your listeners go to buy Pink Panty Confessions, available on Amazon. So all you have to do, go buy it right now, and we'll watch it go up the charts. Like right along with your IMDb.
Say that one more time. Can we do that one more time? Do that promotion one more time. Go ahead.
Yes, Pink Panty Confessions, available on Amazon, available in ebook as well as paperback. By Cynda Williams.
Do we have a link we can post in the chats?
I'm sure we do.
I don't know.
I'll find it.
Keisha's watching the show. She can post the link. Keisha's gonna post.
If I wasn't holding my phone in the other hand on Instagram, I would. I'm gonna do it though. I'll put it in the chat.
I was gonna say, what is it? I'll put it in the chat.
You have to just go to Google and then put the Pink Panty for Confessions, and it'll come up and it'll come up with the link.
Or if you go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com, the book is available all of those places.
Yes, say that one more time. Say it again.
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com. The book is available in all those places and pretty much wherever books are sold. So you literally can go to your bookstore and say you want it, and they can order it for you too. There's a lot you can do.
All right. I need to go buy it. We need you to go buy it. Listen, she's number 879 on IMDb. Listen, come on now.
Yeah, this is
look at Girly. She went right to the fact checking. That's what.
Listen, I'm just telling everybody. Mm-hmm.
So now we are at 3:38. We got about 7 minutes before we wrap it up, and there are a few of us, and we want everybody to be able to give their information, what's coming up. Craig, are you still with us? Did he go home?
Did he go home?
No, I'm here. The videos, my internet started acting up, so.
Gotcha. So Craig, first, can you please tell everybody that needs to know the information that you have? You're on a God-given mission to help people with their financial life. So how can they reach you? I think we put it in the chat already. Oh, thank you, Jenny. We put it in the chat already, and just in case someone missed it, how can we reach you, or what do you have going on that you want people to support you?
Well, there's a couple things. So first of all, yes, if you have financial questions, please email me at craigengel@allstate.com. Very simple, Craig, ENGEL @allstate.com. You can call me if you want. I'm at 219-333-1460. I don't know what that was.
That was me. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Craig.
So you can call me at 219-333-1460. I'd love to help you out, whatever you need. And then the second thing is that my movie, The Misadventures of Mistress Maneater, is out. It's streaming for free on Amazon Prime. It's also on Tubi and IMDb TV. We are averaging 4.7 stars out of 5 on Amazon. I'm thrilled with that. People are loving my movie. People are loving Cynda's performance. And as of this week, as I mentioned earlier, Cynda is literally based on ratings and algorithms on IMDb, one of the most important people in show business right now. We need to get Cynda back on screen and doing some screen work with that rating. But please watch our movie, and if you do, please give us a star rating. And if you feel ambitious, write us a review. These days, it's not about box office anymore. It's about star ratings on the internet. It's crazy, but that's what it is. And so any support that we can get from our wonderful listeners, that would be awesome.
Great. Thank you so much, Craig, always. And I'm going to call you about setting up your show. Jenny, what's going on with you?
Hey, so Jenny Graham, I'm the CEO of Trauma Free University. I'm a life empowerment coach and licensed art therapist. I recently launched my first online course called Creating Self-Synergy. And actually one of the things that Cynda, you mentioned earlier about sometimes parts of us actually do have to die so that other parts can be born and grow and evolve. And that's actually one of the things that I address in my Creating Self-Synergy online course. And I talk about the grief process that's associated with that, because I think a lot of times we forget or don't realize that that is a grief. We're letting go of a part of who we are so that another part of us can begin to shine. So I walk you through that process in that course, and I do so by leaning into creative activities. So just using line shapes and colors. It's not about artistic skill, but it's a great way to really tap into your subconscious in a way that is direct, but is also fun and effective and a little playful. So you can check that out. I'll post the link for that in the comments. And you can also just follow me on Instagram at TraumaFreeU. So that's TraumaFree and the letter U.
All right. Glenn, please tell everybody everything.
All right. So first, you can follow me on Glenn220. That's on Twitter and Instagram. That's probably the easiest way to follow me. The show is live from the cave. It airs Saturdays at 9 p.m. Central Time on Indie Network. And I'll post that in the comments, or I'll have Keisha post it in the comments if she's still watching. But really catch us. It's a fun show. 220 Publishing, 220books.com. That's easy. Winecrawl, wine-crawl.com. And G-Rose Productions, grosprod.com. And we'll post all those links in the chat. Or you can just shoot me a note at Glenn220 and I can give you all that stuff. But thank you for having me on. This has been fun.
Thank you so much for coming, Glenn. I love you. You're so awesome.
You too.
ShellyShell, what you got going on?
Forget me. I'm just gonna say, Glenn, for that TV show, I love the promo picture. Keisha posted all the time. It's this real sexy, all the men in their suits looking all good. I just want to say that I'm glad I get an opportunity to tell you, because I look at that picture like, dang. I'm just saying. Make sure you go to Instagram, because that's where I saw it. I was like, yes, they did that. They did it. Just look at it. Hot.
Yeah.
Hot. Anyway, make sure.
John Mason, one of the host of the show, actually took the picture. He's a photographer too. So.
Oh yeah, he did that, and the ladies have a hot one too. So their promo is amazing. So we need some of those pictures like that. Anyway, make sure you go buy Pink Panty Confessions book on Amazon. That's what I just need y'all to do. Go buy the book. Buy the book. Buy the book. If I could write a song about it out here, we want to sing about a book. Buy the book. That's what you need to do. Follow me.
I posted the link twice in the chat. So
that's right. Buy the book. And you can just follow me on Instagram at ShellyShell Williams. That's where I'm at.
All right. Okay. Before I'll do Kid and I's thing, the Melanated Morning Show. I am on with Kid again tomorrow, Thursday. I am very excited because we are the show sometimes about nothing, and it is always fun. We have so much fun on that show, so please join us.
The past 2 weeks.
We have not wanted to talk about politics or any of that, so we have just had fun just talking about stuff and laughing, and people are enjoying it. So that's 10 to 12 Eastern on with me Wednesday, Thursday. He's on the show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I have a new podcast coming out this week. Of course, it's called Heal, and it's with my girl, Robin LeBeau, who is a dog enthusiast. She told me to call it, not a dog breeder. She does Frenchies, and she's got an amazing company and an amazing story. And oh my gosh, Jenny, you're going to have a lot to work with next week. It's going to be fun. So she's on the podcast this week. She'll be on the PPC Radio show next week. And I'm gonna miss next Thursday because I'm gonna be in Vegas working.
Which means that my guest co-host is Girly up there.
Yeah, ShellyShell, she'll be on next Thursday. So you know that's gonna be a good show. I listened to the last one y'all did and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'm always listening. I've been telling folks all the time, you want to get down, Grown Folks Radio. You want to hear some funny conversations, Grown Folks Radio. It's the place to go. So, kid, you have anything you want to say? Did I?
No, actually, other than that, I really don't. I'm on my chill.
Okay, Sin's coming on. Monica on Armani on the Scenes coming on Saturday or Sunday. We got a lot. Check out the lineup. Go to the grownfolksradio.com and check out the lineup and check us out. Now we're getting ready to hear DJ Joe Storm. Thank you all for joining us. Everybody that's listening in now and listening in later, please keep coming back. We love you. Share. Thank you.
PPC, yeah. PPC, yeah. Join me so we can grow together. Conversation, get that healing. Let them know what they're missing. Share with your best friend. Tell them come hear this, yeah. Don't you dare miss your blessings. Powerful lessons, true confessions, yeah. PPC, yeah. A powerful tool for you. PPC, yeah. A powerful tool for you and me. PPC, yeah.